Carl Barconi and Friends by Stan and Carol Hall. Dedicated to all the grandmas and grandpas of the world. Mr. Carl Barconi likes pine cones and bologna, but all of his friends like pine cone-a-lone. His friends are all coming for dinner tonight, so he's trying to catch pine cones while it's still light. He's going to cook them, and they are going to be great. He'll be serving pine cone-a-lone and dinners at 8. Oh, I wish he'd invite me. It just sounds so good. Some cheese and lasagna mixed with some wood. We could spice it with pine needles and maybe some bark. I'm not doing anything tonight after dark. I could bring the dessert. I'd bring it for free. I'd bring sugar and honey we could lick off a tree. Oh, please, Mr. Carl, please let me come. It sounds so delicious, just yummy, yum, yum. And Carl replies, "My friend, you are right. You must come, of course. Yes, you have my invite. I'm sure your dessert will top off the night." I can tell by your talking you're a wood connoisseur. That makes you my friend, that is for sure. I'll catch some more pine cones. There will be plenty for you. I'll boil them special. Would you like to watch what I do? Perhaps you'll come early and help me prepare. We could compare ways that we cook stuff before the others get there. I've concocted some recipes that you might think are neat, where I mix twigs and small pine cones with bologna or meat. I fry them with tomatoes and a wee bit of moss. When served with spaghetti, it's a wonderful sauce. Yes, of course, please come, and I'm quite anxious, too, to try that dessert. That will be new. Oh, it's great having friends who enjoy wood cooking, too. I'm so glad that we met, and I bet so are you. This is Mr. Harry Mandolin, and he is a friend of Carl Barconi. Come and meet Mr. Harry Mandolin, the best froggy banjo player that might have ever been. He practices songs from old Alabama, 'cause they were the favorites of his tadpole mammy. If you say, "Hello, Harry, how are you?" maybe he'll treat you to a tune or two and play something fun and fast for you. He might play a jig that would make you want to dance and make you wiggle, whirl, and twirl like ants are in your pants. And then you could sing, "Woo-wee!" and whack your hat on your knee. That sure sounds like fun to me. Yay, Harry! This is Signor Rabito Bencharo, and he is a friend of Carl Barconi. Signor Rabito Bencharo was never one to complain. He had a life of adventure, I think started in Spain. Now that I think of it, I'm sure that it did. He had 7 sisters and brothers, and they lived in Madrid. They lived in a burrow under the ground, near a big field of clover on the west edge of town. It was there they got meals, and was a great place to play, and Papa Jack watched them while he made sweet clover hay. So they would have snacks later for a rainy, cold day. But one day, something happened that changed their whole life. It happened to Mama Bencharo, Papa Jack's wife. She just disappeared. She never came back. No one knows why, but it was sure hard on Jack. Everyone worried about Mom being gone. They decided to find her, and the big search was on. His brothers and sisters decided to search till they found her. Yes, that's what they did. So they divided the world into a grid, and Sister Maria said she'd search east of Madrid. And Brother Jose said he'd search all of Spain. The rest of them all got on a plane. Miguel went to France, Rosita to Rome. They were going to find her and bring their mom home. Brad went to Brazil. Jill went to Japan. They would search and find her. That was their plan. It was still a great mystery what made Mom disappear. So Ramon went to China, and Rabito came here. He has become a detective, and he works every day to find clues he could use about why Mom went away. Now that you know what he's here to do, you could help out and look for her too. Wouldn't it be great if that's what you did? If you found Rabito's lost mom, they could return to Madrid. They could live in their burrow on the west side of town. They could be a family again because Mom would be found. Wouldn't it be great if you were the one who found Mama Bencharo? Wouldn't that be fun? Then they could all go home happy and eat sweet clover hay. And they would be thinking of you, and they would all cheer, "Hooray!" This is Miss Daisy D. She-Bear, and she is a friend of Carl Barconi. Come and meet Miss Daisy D. She-Bear, who likes to smell the flowers and put them in her hair. She has always lived here in our little forest park, and every day she comes to life when it's close to dark. It is her favorite time of day to get a snack and prowl, and visitors get greeted with a little berry growl. She is especially fond of sweets she can lick on with her tongue, but she doesn't like sharp prickles or getting bit or stung. She doesn't like mosquitoes. She likes tearing up old logs. She doesn't like the black flies, and she especially hates the dogs. She really likes our forest. She eats grass right on our lawn. She's usually here most of the year, but in the wintertime, she's gone. We all like Miss Daisy. We think it's really neat that she lives here in our forest. That's a very special treat. So when you come to visit and you see her sitting there, don't forget to get a flower for Miss Daisy D. She-Bear. This is Mr. Stumpy Hooterson, and he is a friend of Carl Barconi. Mr. Stumpy Hooterson likes living in the park, and he can see you coming even if it's nearly dark. He really likes it when you visit while he's sitting on his stump. It makes him want to flap his wings, sing hooty-hoo, and jump. And when your visit's over, he's a little sad it ends. It's not his favorite thing to do, saying bye-bye to his friends. He'd rather say, "Come back real soon. I really like it when you do. I'll be watching from my stump, singing hooty-hoo to you." Good night, Stumpy Hooterson. This is Mr. C. Rabby Trunker, and he is a friend of Carl Barconi. Mr. C. Rabby Trunker is a very good thunker. He's looking out from his tree, thinking, "See how far I can see?" And when you run by, I bet you didn't know, he starts thinking, "Wow, where did they go?" And if you come running back by, then he starts thinking, he's wondering why. Then if you sneak up behind, the shock of it almost blows up his mind, because things that happen behind his nice tree are simply things that he just can't see. When I asked him why, do you know what he said? "I don't have eyes in the back of my head. That's why I can't see." That's what he said. Isn't that great? What a wonderful mind. He even could think why he couldn't see behind. This is Mrs. P. Nutty, and she is a friend of Carl Barconi. Mrs. P. Nutty is the most talented squirrel in all the land, and sometimes she will take a treat and take it from your hand. Now I bet you wonder, what does she do all day? Well, that's her little secret, and she's too shy to say. But I could share it with you if you promise not to tell. She is a super singer and knows a few dance steps as well. And every day she practices for an hour or two. So when it's time to entertain, she'll know just what to do. Now I suppose you want to know how to make her sing and dance. Well, you'll have to pay to see her play, and that will take a treat, paid in advance. So get some peanut butter and spread it on your thumb, and hold your hand out really still, and maybe she will come. And if she licks it off, which is what we're hoping that she'll do, I'm sure she'll sing the cha-cha-cha and do a squirrely dance for you. This is Christopher Streakoffer, and he is a friend of Carl Barconi. Christopher Streakoffer, the world's fastest squirrel, can run up a tree like a whirly wind whirl. He can run to the top in a second or two and come down just as fast if he really wants to. He can run to the top for a pine cone to eat. For a fast little squirrel, that's a special good treat. Or he can run to the top to escape from a dog, but he can run just as fast to hide under a log. Yes, Christopher Streakoffer is the world's fastest squirrel, and whenever he moves, he's like a whirly-wind whirl. Whoosh! Here are Jerry Canary and Buddy the Snail, and they are friends of Carl Barkoni. Jerry Canary and Buddy the Snail can't believe they're the same, but they are, complete to their tail. If they both have a tail, and they both have a head, and they're both wearing right now what they'll be wearing to bed, then Jerry might wonder why Buddy doesn't grow feathers and fly. And Buddy might wonder, you never can tell, if Jerry can slide, and could he grow a nice shell? But we know that snails slide and stay on the ground, and canaries can fly. That's how they both move around. And it's not going to change. Snails aren't going to fly, and canaries aren't sliding. But we're not really sure why. This is Old Dwarf Needlesweeper, and he is a friend of Carl Barkoni. Old Dwarf Needlesweeper, an old country elf, knows what he knows and lives by himself. He left the old country a long time ago. He was young and adventurous, so he just had to go. But when he was a child, his mom was a gnome, and he learned all that was needed from his gnome mom at home. He learned to have manners, he learned to be neat, he learned to be clean and wash his face and his feet. He learned to be happy, he learned to be glad, he learned to enjoy whatever he had. He learned a good trade, he learned how to sweep. He could now get a job and earn for his keep. He learned how to cook, he learned how to share, he learned to be patient, he learned how to care. All of these things were things that she taught. They were important to know. That's what she thought. Oh, yes, I forgot. There was one more thing. She taught him to yodel, which is a strange way to sing. And this was by far his favorite thing. An old dwarf wants to share the words, so you know, to his favorite song, O Yodel-ay-hee-ho. So you can sing them over and over. This is how they go. O yodel-ay-hee-ho, odi-odi-odi-odi-lay-hee-ho. O yodel-ay-hee-ho, odi-odi-odi-odi-lay-hee-ho. This is Mr. Bucky Dearmitry, and he is a friend of Carl Barkoni. Poor Mr. Bucky Dearmitry. He has worries galore, and when anything happens, he just worries more. He worries about things like his ears being big, and he's quite concerned he has a nose like a pig. His eyes are both crossed, he sees everything double. How can anyone have any more trouble? He's supposed to be a big handsome buck, but when he looks in the mirror, he just thinks, oh yuck, how did I ever get this much bad luck? He thinks everyone else is better than me, so he stays by himself, hiding out by this tree. If he'd just relax and go join the herd and stop thinking his looks make him some kind of nerd, then he could still play, he could still run, he could be part of a team, he could have fun. Poor Mr. Bucky Dearmitry never understood being part of a team is what makes you good. It's not about you, it's about what you think. It's about doing your best, not thinking you stink. When he makes that mistake, he has a bad day, because he's making his choices by what he thinks they will say. But what if he thought fun was to help pull a sleigh? He could join that type of team to play with all day. It would be great. They could shout, hip hip hooray, our team is the best. We're going to pull Santa's sleigh. He'd be a valuable teammate. He'd enjoy every day. All of his worries would just go away. But if he continues to worry and stays here to hide, he might miss out on his chance to give Santa a ride. Cheer up, Bucky. This is Mr. Odysseus Justducky, and he is a friend of Carl Barkoni. Mr. Odysseus Justducky is just so happy-go-lucky. Everything that happens for him is just so wild-ducky. If you happen to say, "Hey, are you enjoying your day?" he'll reply with a yay and say, "It's really okay." But you realize, of course, that when he talks back, it will be like a duck, and he'll say, "Quack, quack, 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 quack." Here are Mr. Muck and Mr. Tuck, and they are friends of Carl Barconi. Mr. Muck and Mr. Tuck are visiting and enjoying another fine day. They are 302, and they love what they do. If you ask them, that's what they'll say. They have always been friends and partners. They even share the same birthday. They've never missed work a day in their lives, because their work for them is just play. They go throughout the forest and gather certain fluff. Then they cook it using magic and make some special stuff. That special stuff is precious. It's precious and it's rare. Then they have to choose someone to use to help them spread it everywhere. I can tell you what they make, but in a whisper, not any louder, because Muck and Tuck are magic elves who make magic good luck powder. And maybe if you're playing near them and you forget they're even there, they might fly up behind you and put some in your hair. That's how they choose who spreads it. That's how you help out Muck and Tuck. That's how they spread the powder out, by sprinkling you with luck. Then, when you're with other people, even if they're feeling yucky, just because you're there with them, they'll start feeling good and lucky. This is Little Baby's sister, and she is a friend of Carl Barconi. Little Baby's sister was having so much fun. She was playing in the forest. You would have laughed to see her run. She looked in every little spot to see if she could hide. She would climb up little branches to bounce them for a ride. She was a ball of energy, a little ball of fur, and the forest is her playground that was put there just for her. Then it starts to happen. Her energy gets low. She'll need some time to charge back up. She gets tired fast, you know. So she makes a comfy nest in a quiet, peaceful place and snuggles in for a rest and recharges up to race. And when I went to check on her, it brought a smile to my face to see the little nest she's made and to find her little place. This is Moomy the cow, and she is a friend of Carl Barconi. Oh, wow! Here's Moomy the cow, the famous cow superstar. She's so popular and famous 'cause her singing's sublime, and she stars in some movies that get watched all the time. Cows gather together in big dairy herds and listen intently to all of her words. Every cow, calf, and heifer across the farm country lands applaud her by stomping because cows don't have hands. They wave their tails and anticipate when a new movie's out. Hooray for our Moomy! That's what they shout. What's her best movie? It's so hard to say. I remember her acting in The Bovine Ballet. It was the talk of the barnyard for a week and a day. Those Russian cows had talent, but she was the star. She played a cow palace princess that played a guitar. Oh, I remember another. I might have to concede. She was super fantastic in the Longhorn Stampede. It was filmed in Calgary, Moomy's hometown. Her billboard was in lights. She wore a bullhide cow gown. But the Milk Parlor Mysteries, they were so intense. She did a series of 3. I recall the suspense. Every cow held its breath in the scene by the door when they chalk-lined the bodies on the milk parlor floor. Had Moomy done it? There was utter dismay. I recall the suspense right to this day. Oh, but remember her effort to build up morale in the great cow escape from the OK Corral? That movie was a classic, an epic, a gem. Maybe her best role ever, because she did it for them. Milk production went up 20% somehow, following that blockbuster hit starring Moomy the cow. Or maybe the musicals, especially the spoofers, the cow prancer dancers with the Holstein Hoofers. Her acting was great, her talent divine, her humor spontaneous. Then she drank that milk wine. The poor dairy herds laughed so awful darn hard when she did Highland cow dancing in a mucky barnyard. Our Moomie's so famous, I'm glad that she's here. We're so happy to know her. Let's give her a cheer.